are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for coming to the show.
This is Bite Size Climate Tech, Season 2.
Today we have the CTO of Airhive,
Hi.
Jasper here,
Hi.
who's a talented PhD scientist.
I'm finishing off my PhD at Imperial, so my background's in physical natural sciences and chemical engineering, and particularly industrial decarbonisation and climate technologies.
Those terms just sounds very cool. And today we're going to explore a concept that is called fluidization, and that's the magic behind this company called Airhive, which is the company he also is a part of the co-founders team. So this whole point of the podcast is we wanted to dissect this kind of complex concept in a way that other people will be able to understand, even if they don't have an engineering background. So you were just telling me about fluidization. Can you explain to the audience?
I can do my best. So fluidization, it's a physical phenomenon. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's essentially when you have a fluid, in our case air,
Yeah.
and it mixes with a solid particle or a mixture of solid particles, and that upflow of the gas, in our case air, creates almost like fluid-like behavior. So the solid material behaves almost like a sandstorm when the air is passed through it from below.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is create very rapid mass transfer. It's almost like the transfer of CO2 from the air into the solid mineral material that we capture the CO2.
Maybe it would be helpful if you tell me some kind of other examples in real life that's not relevant to CDR but in fluidization.
Actually, we were speaking to one of our manufacturers recently, and they're working on a big project. Similar systems to what we use to dry salts. They take salts from the ocean, and then they put them into a similar kind of piece of equipment, and they fluidize it with air to dry it out. So it's in a similar way. How can you most efficiently contact air with a solid material?
I bet this technology also have been in place for a long time.
For quite a few decades.
In Airhive specific technology, it's because you're basically putting the chemical reaction in the nature, which is some kind of silicate-rich stones.
And mainly calcium-based materials,
Yeah.
and also magnesium, silicas, a whole bunch of natural.
And then you just put them in almost like a powder form and put them all through this machine or facility, make it happen, the fluidization. It's making the chemical reaction on steroid.
Exactly. So it's the carbonation process of the materials we're using happens in nature. So most of the CO2 is locked up in the ground as carbonate rocks,
Yeah.
and that process happens naturally in the Earth system. So what we're doing is try to create that cycle and make it happen very quickly in a machine, and make it happen in minutes and hours as opposed to thousands of years.
Oh, so if I can summarize this, you're using this fluidization, this industry-ready machine has been in ages, in decades about this technology, and fast-track the nature carbonization.
Exactly,
process.
Yeah. Key is we want to also do that with renewable energy. So we're basing the whole process off renewable electricity, and that really brings the pressure off some of the other decarbonisation efforts to reduce the use of fossil fuels to reach the net.
Once you start this process.
So it'll be all automated. So
Yeah.
we're using industrially available equipment, redesigning them for our purposes, but it's all with equipment that's fully automated. So we have control systems that mean that operational labour is low.
So now it's the challenge for an 8-year-old. Let's say if you have a little brother, how would you explain it to them?
So I would say we create a sandstorm in a machine, and that means that CO2 is very quickly removed from the air. So in less than 0.1 second, we're able to remove all the CO2 from the air that passes through our system.
I think for the 8-year-old it's kind of difficult. Maybe we can do a metaphor as you're like a Marvel superhero. You have this superpower of doing this.
I would say maybe we've got like a sandstorm superhero who can control sandstorms and use them across the whole atmosphere to clean up the air.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, thank you so much for explaining this. So one question I got from last time is, what's the headline of newspaper the day we hit 300 parts per million?
We did it.
Yes.
What else would it be?
So can you leave a question for the next guest?
What's the most exciting idea that you know of that's inspired by physics or the natural world that can help us solve the climate issue?
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. This is Jasper, the CTO of Airhive, and we're at Scale Space. It's a super cool place.
Great. Thank you so much.
Jasper Wong, the CTO of Airhive, is a PhD research engineer from Imperial College London, specializing in decarbonization. He holds both a BA and MEng from the University of Cambridge. At Airhive, Jasper applies his scientific and engineering expertise, particularly in fluidization technologies, to innovate in the field of direct air. Expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official position of ICE's climate tech. We thank our guests for sharing their insights and experiences, and we thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Until next time.